Now we're going to remove this method from our post. And from our front end, we're going to use rec body and send our transaction data using JSON. We need to decode JSON in our backend, so we'll write decoder, JSON, new decoder. That's how we're going to run the program, and regarding this, right now, I currently have on the right side, import encoding JSON. I have this document page displaying on the screen right now, and here we have our index, and in our index we have type decoder, which brings us to this page, and we'll click on example. This may visually be helpful with understanding type decoder. First, we have JSON stream. We have this information, and please think of this as the transaction data that will be sent from our user UI. We're going to store this in our struct for our Go backend. For example, let's say this is a struct for our backend for Go. We'll take this data and place it in here. We have this coming in using JSON. So first, we'll accept and read the data using JSON stream. We'll pass this into our JSON new decoder and create our deck. This is our for loop. One key point here is our var m message. We're simply just defining the struct using var m message. And now regarding how this is run. With this deck decode, we pass in our m address here. Then our data from here at the top will be passed into here. Then at the very end, print it out. Here we have m.name. This refers to our name that's inside our struct. And same with this text. This refers to the text that's inside our struct. Let's click on run and let's look at this line of name ed text knock knock. This ed is displayed first like so, followed by our colon, then our text knock knock. We ran this loop until our end of file and printed our result. The key point here is when we're going to place our JSON string into our struct, we can use JSON new decoder. We'll place our address for struct here and decode. Once you've understood this concept and flow, then we're ready to move on. And now let's write our code to process the JSON data that's sent from our front end. First, we'll write type transaction request. We're going to write the struct to process the JSON that's sent from our front end. We'll write sender private key. This is JSON, so we're going to use a pointer for our string, and we'll write JSON sender private key. Later on, we're going to use the nil pointer in our if statement, so that's why we are using pointers. Next, we'll write sender blockchain address. Similar to above, we'll write string JSON sender blockchain address. Next will be recipient blockchain address, followed by string, then JSON recipient blockchain address. Then on to our next line, it's going to be sender public key, and same as above, string, then JSON sender public key. Then to our float, it'll be returned as a string, so we'll write JSON value. With this, we've created our JSON transaction request. Now let's go back to our wallet server.go. We just created our transaction request and we're going to declare it using var. This will be T wallet transaction request, which is what we just created. Then we're going to refer to decoder to decode, and we'll write T, which is the address we just used, and if the error is not nil, then at this time we want log printf, then error, and we want the content of the error to be displayed. Then IO write string, followed by string, utils, JSON status, and we'll want fail to be returned. Then return. The transaction data is sent from our front end to this wallet transaction request. So we want to confirm if this is the correct data or not. So once more, let's access this wallet transaction request. We're going to add on here functr transaction request and a method called validate, returning a bool. Then next, if tr sender private key is nil or t.sender blockchain address is nil, or tr recipient blockchain address is nil, or tr sender public key is nil, or tr value is nil. That means we have a missing field, so we want to return false. If we have all values, then we return true. We've just added on a method for validating, so let's go back to our wallet server.go. Now we'll add on here, if tValidate is not true, we'll want log print. Then what we want displayed is error missing fields. Let's copy these two lines and write return. That's our error handling code. Now we'll write fmt println and refer to the data we referred to earlier, like t sender public key. I'm going to rewrite these lines to refer to the different types of data. We want our code to run and display in this format. And now let's restart our server and see what happens. Let's look at the right side of our screen and let's write 1111 for our address and 1.0 for amount. Then click on send. Down below, we see our result in the format that we requested in our code. We were able to successfully decode the JSON data that was sent from our front end. And now that we've gotten this far, we won't be using this going forward, so let's remove this and move on to our next lecture.